We care about the entire print community, and we know that the print community is critical to the revitalization of the economy, and we know that they're going to need something to keep them going.
That's Michael Maxwell, Senior Manager of Corporate Strategic Development at Mimaki USA, speaking about the Together We Print initiative, which we'll learn more about a little later in this episode of the Shop Talk podcast. My name is Ashley Bray, and I'm the Managing Editor of Sign Builder Illustrated magazine. I had the pleasure of speaking with Michael about how COVID-19 is affecting the printing industry and how print shops, ever flexible, are adapting by moving into some new markets. We also touched upon some of Mimaki's efforts to help shops during these times. Michael, I want to thank you for taking the time to speak with me today. I thought we'd start by taking a bird's eye view of things. How do you think COVID-19 will affect the future of the print industry?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely seeing a shift in the interest in the print community. Certainly the sign and graphics market is a critical piece of the economy getting back up and running. So if anything, it's actually kind of been a bit of a stimulus for the sign and graphics market in general, because it's created an opportunity for much needed signage, whether it's a policy being put up, hours of your store, or wayfinding in a store if you're doing like directed aisles, for example. So it's created a need for a lot of businesses to adapt and adopt, if you will, new signage, which has created a lot of interest for the traditional sign and graphic space. And then there's been kind of an interesting movement on like the dye sublimation side for the fabric that's being used for some of the other applications for like face masks and things like that. So it's been interesting to see that. So I think in the future, we'll see some more of this, at least in the immediate future, continue to be the trend, and probably provide the sign and graphics market some much-needed expansion with every business is affected by this. So whether you're a restaurant or a hospital or a grocery store, you're going to need some sort of signage or some sort of directional graphics, display graphic type of thing to help out. So we see it as a positive thing, even though the concept of the whole pandemic is kind of a hard thing to go through. From an economic standpoint, once we kind of get through the hardship at the beginning of this, we'll probably see a lot of increased business as a result of it.
You always need to look for the silver lining, I think, and this is definitely one of them. You mentioned face masks, directional graphics. Are there other applications you see print shops kind of taking on that maybe they wouldn't have thought about before?
Yeah, we've seen a lot of floor graphics, although those have been around for a while. There's been quite a bit more interest in the floor graphics space and the wall graphics, for example. Floor graphics, because of the social distancing policies that are in place at a lot of businesses, queues that are being set up for people to wait to check out or to even get in the store. Those graphics, a lot of retail outlets initially used, the simple things like masking tape or duct tape on the floor, but those aren't long-term solutions, and they're not really pretty, if you will, for those businesses. So from a long-term perspective, a lot of them are adopting these floor graphics. They need to make sure that the floor graphic has the proper non-slip coating, like a laminate or something like that on it. And they want to make sure that it's going to be able to last a lot of foot traffic as they start to open back up and allow customers in. So there's that. Some of the other things that we've seen is some signage outside of the store, waiting areas. A lot of stores have moved to fulfillment through online. So what they're doing is they're allowing their customers to purchase online and pick it up in the store. And they're setting up specific parking spaces that are separated out so that their customers aren't next to each other, and that their employees can get in and out without, getting too close with the whole social distancing thing. So we're seeing a lot of signage, interior and exterior, as a result of it. On the dye sublimation side I mentioned earlier, we're seeing a lot of interest in face masks. I know in the Asian countries there's been a lot of adoption of face masks over the past probably 10 or 20 years. It's kind of commonplace there, but it hasn't really been as commonplace in Europe and in the Americas. And we're starting to see a lot of companies move towards production of these. Just most recently, I noticed that several major companies like Disney have adopted face mask production on their websites with their popular characters, and a lot of that's dye sub printed. So we're seeing a lot more interest in our dye sub line as a result of that. And then on our traditional textile, we're also seeing a kind of an interest In the non-polyester fabrics, we've got a couple of partners that we work with that have some fabrics that are that have a non-microbial coating on it that we can print to, and it doesn't affect the ability of it to protect, and it creates a kind of unique application. So like the gator style masks, or just the traditional mask with the bands on it that you would wrap around your ears. So things like that. On the 3D printing side, we've seen a lot of interest in some of the parts that aren't readily available, like for the ventilators. It's a tough conversation to talk about when someone has to go to the hospital and go on a ventilator, but if they don't have enough ventilators to go around, some of the 3D printing community has created valves so that they can use one ventilator for two different patients, which has helped out. And then there's some unique applications on the industrial product side that kind of fits into the 3D realm as well, for laser engraving and cutting, and even printing of plastics that can be used to either pick up items like bags where you don't want to touch the item that might have been handled by somebody else, or even a doorknob. You want to be able to open it without interacting with the doorknob directly, because those are high-touch surfaces. So a lot of really creative things being produced through the printing community on all the different technologies. It's been kind of interesting to watch.
Yeah, it's a positive for sure, and I think it shows why so many printing businesses in so many states have been deemed essential. They just service so many products for what's going on right now. With that in mind, many sign shops may be looking at the printing industry, if they aren't in it already, and maybe purchasing a printer either now or down the line. How has your sales process changed at Mimaki USA? Obviously, people can't come into the demo centers. A lot of trade shows have been canceled or delayed. How have you pivoted your business model to still kind of keep up with the customer, expectations in these changing times?
Yeah, great question. Certainly the sales process has been amended significantly in a very short amount of time. These particular pieces of equipment are typically an extension of your business. It's a resource that your company's going to use for years. So you want to make sure that you're purchasing the right piece of equipment and that you're managing your cost overall. So you want to get something that's efficient. And that process generally requires you to go look at the equipment firsthand. It requires you to go in and interact with it. That way you can verify that it does what you want it to do, performs at the level you need it to perform with, and addresses the pain points that you might experience with reprints or anything like that, or downtime, maintenance type of issues. So that typically requires a customer to come into a facility, which is why we've opened so many facilities over the past few years for customers to interact with. So we've had to shift our focus a bit as a result of the situation. Although we do have these spaces, we're able to utilize them differently now. So at least in the short term, what we're doing is a lot of virtual demos. We're taking advantage of the platforms that are available online. The internet has provided some really unique opportunity for us to interact with customers remotely, which has been great. So the well-known platforms out there that are driving this, we're taking advantage of all of them. We're taking advantage of the cell phone technology, the tablet technology, and we can put an employee in front of a machine in one location, and maybe a technician or another employee in front of the same machine at a different location. That way they're not violating any social distancing practices, and they can answer the customer's questions in real time, which has been great for us. We've also shifted to doing a lot of educational stuff, like most companies, with webinars, and working with our partners to let the industry know what's available, what you should be using, best practices, those types of things. So it's the same information and the same message that we were delivering face-to-face, but we're able to do it virtually, which has been really nice to be able to do that and continue to move forward, even though we're technically separate right now.
Technology has been so key in this whole situation with COVID-19. It's been great to kind of be able to do these things virtually and still reach out to customers. Many print shops may be holding off on purchasing new equipment right now, given the financial situation. But would it be a good idea to make a purchase before the end of the year, especially if maybe a sign shop took advantage of some of the relief funds or loans that came out of the CARES Act?
Yeah, so it's a tough conversation to have with everything going on, the uncertainty, to say, hey, would you like to purchase a piece of equipment? But in regards to like whether or not to purchase now, that's a really interesting question, because we don't know what the CARES Act is going to end up looking like from a tax perspective. The government is printing money right now, and at some point they need to get that money back, right? They can't just print money forever, so they have to recoup that money somewhere. And typically what we've seen in the past with these types of situations, whether it was the banking crisis or 9/11, was the tax tables got changed and amended to offset that money that was sent out into the world. So we imagine that it's probably going to be very similar. A lot of the CARES Act is designed to supplement income for your teams, right? It's supposed to provide payroll assistance and things like that. But at the end of the year, it may end up becoming a burden because it may look from a tax perspective more like that you made more money than you really did because you're not paying the payroll taxes the way that you did before. You're not paying like FICA and all that stuff. So it may end up kind of working in reverse when everything kind of works itself out. So what we've seen is a lot of companies that are talking to financial advisors, and I'm certainly not a financial advisor by any stretch, but some of the companies that we've been talking to that have financial advisors, they're being advised that this may be the right year to invest in capital equipment because you can take advantage of some of the tax shelters that are provided there, like Section 179 that's continued on, and some of the other areas. And you can take the depreciation, you can get going, you can get your business moving in a different direction, and it may offset the payroll tax situation that you may find yourself this time next year when everything kind of starts to settle. And this might be, despite everything, a good year to invest in capital equipment, whether it's a printer or a bucket truck or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's important to remember those tax breaks like Section 179 that are been there from the start and continue to be there. I know they've kind of fallen to the wayside in place of some of the articles that have come out about PPP loan and some of these other things that have been in the news recently. But it's important to remember that those tax breaks are still there.
Absolutely.
Considering we're talking about saving money and making financial decisions, I was wondering if Mimaki USA is offering any special promotions at this time.
We are, with the overhead changing a bit and kind of everything going virtual, one of the things that Mimaki's always prided themselves on is providing a cost-effective solution to our customers. So we've taken a look at what our overhead looks like and where we're saving money, because we are saving money in certain areas. The office isn't generating as much electricity because we're not running as many demos. We don't have as much foot traffic. So there's a couple of different areas where we looked at. And what we did was we took that money that we were going to realize from those, those different situations, and we were investing it into other areas. So we've got a couple of pretty strong promotions on our line. We typically run a fairly aggressive promotion with our equipment just because we know that the product is going to provide what the customer wants. But in this case, we've provided some support to our dealers through some of the promotional activities. So we've got a couple of vouchers. What Mimaki's doing is we're taking the money and we're just providing it towards the purchase of the machine. So if you get a piece of equipment from us, you're not only getting a discount and maybe a really good finance offer, which we're also investing into. We've got an investment program there called the Wide Format Investment Program. But we're also taking some of that money and we're giving it to the customer and saying, okay, here's some additional money that you can use towards ink or towards maintenance items that you might need. And we've created it in such a way that it actually drives more traffic to our dealers, which they love, because now what they can do is just take the voucher to the dealer when they're ready and, claim it, and it pulls inventory that the dealer might have on their shelf and helps them get first in, first out. And it just kind of keeps everything going. So everybody's got a good section of this workflow, and it's really eased a lot of things up for us from a relationship standpoint, not only from the end user but from our dealers who are also worried about their businesses just as much as we are. So those promotions are in place right now, and then the finance programs have been very positively, from our customer standpoint. We've gotten some below market rates. We've got some really aggressive payment terms. So we've done a lot of investment on our side, if you will, to kind of pass that on to the consumer and then, keep the channel and the whole industry going.
Definitely. It's very important. I wanted to ask about the financing programs you have in place because I saw you have a payment relief program as well. Could you tell our listeners a little bit more about what that entails?
Yeah, so we've partnered with a couple of lenders. We've got some good relationships over the years across the industry. And what we did was we took a hard look at it and we said, okay, how long is this realistically going to last? How long do we think that this is going to last before things start to ease up? And I think we were pretty accurate in our first assessment. We were looking at about 3 months of where it was really going to be really hard, and then probably another 3 months of recovery. And now that we're starting to see some of the financials come through and some of the reports from the White House and some of the other areas like the stock exchange, they're also indicating it's going to be about a 3 to 6 month turnaround before we start to see the economy tick back up. So we already right at the gate had a time frame in mind that we wanted to work with. So we wanted to be at a minimum of 6 months for our payment relief program. We were able to work with a couple of lenders. Northstar was able to come to the table with a 6 month deferral on some areas and some payment relief up to 6 months for shorter pay for the first 3 and a different payment cycle for the other 3. So it's really down to what the customer can qualify for and what makes sense for their business. We've also got another program with another partner, CIT, that gives us up to 18 months of 0% financing, if that makes more sense for you. So we've taken a lot of the money, like I mentioned earlier, and we've invested towards buying down these rates and making sure that we have these payment terms for our customers. So when you come in, you got kind of a menu of different items that you can choose from, but the minimum time that you can really start to work with is about 6 months, and you can work your way up to about 18 months. So we're really proud to have such partners to work with us on these programs. And then the below-market financing I mentioned earlier, the rates, we've been at a 3.99% rate, which is really low. It helps take care of the concerns that the business might have, because 3.99% on a 60-month loan, it doesn't really create a lot of financial stress, and especially if you're getting back into a less expensive piece of equipment, like a solvent piece of equipment that might be around $15,000 to $30,000. That's going to create an opportunity for you to really manage your cost monthly, and you can turn around and sell jobs that are going to keep your business open, and it's going to be manageable for you. So we really want to put a lot of that in place to help our the print community in general. We care very much about the print community, so we want to make sure that we have as many options available for them so that they can make the right decision for their business.
And you mentioned that Mimaki really cares about the print industry, and I wanted to end kind of on that positive note today. You guys launched the Together We Print initiative a few weeks ago to support the print community, and it's a really kind of unique and beneficial initiative for the whole industry because it doesn't just target print shops with Mimaki machines. It kind of targets the whole industry itself. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about this initiative and how it's helping print shops.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. We're really proud of that initiative. So Together We Print was a conversation that we started a few weeks into the pandemic, and Mimaki is a very unique company. We manufacture the equipment, we manufacture a lot of the electronics, we manufacture the ink, the software, but we only manufacture print and cut devices for the printing community. So we're really focused, and that's our family. Whether you were a Mimaki customer, currently are a Mimaki customer, or could possibly be a Mimaki customer, we care about the entire print community. And we know that the print community is critical to the revitalization of the economy, and we know that they're going to need something to keep them going. And one of the things that we discussed early on was the fact that if you ever go to Google and you try to Google a print shop, you sometimes get results near you. Google does a fantastic job with search results, but there's so many different places that the word print or sign exists on the internet. It tends to give you kind of an incomplete view of what's around you. So we were talking about the small shops that we typically sell to, and how they're probably trying right now to connect with the restaurants and the retail spaces in their local communities. And it's really tough, right, because their doors aren't open, they're not allowing foot traffic in, they're not able to go out and knock on doors and drop off business cards like they were before. So what could Mimaki do to contribute to connecting those print shops with other businesses that are looking for this wayfinding signage, looking for the floor graphics I mentioned earlier, or even the door handle openers, or the face mask production? Maybe they're going to provide face masks to their employees. And we came up with this idea that, in the printing community, we're all in this together. So it's a very simple concept, but it's been working for us. We've got over 100 people on our site now, and we're gaining more every day, and it's been in place for about 3 weeks now. And what it is you just, as a sign shop, you just go to our website, you tell us who you are, what you do, what services you provide, phone number, give us your web address, and we're putting it up on our website, for you. There's no cost there. It's free promotion, and then with our social media and ad spending that we would have typically spent on equipment, we've taken that money and we've decided to put it towards this initiative. So we're taking some of the money and we're promoting a lot of these small businesses on their behalf. So we're actually become kind of a marketing arm, if you will, for the small business, the small printing community, and trying to help them connect with their local businesses. So it's been a fun project to work on, and we got a lot of time invested in it at this point, and it's working really well. So Together We Print is basically a way for our print community to show what they're capable of doing and to put it up onto our website. And hopefully it's driving more interest for some of their local retail businesses that can go onto the website and quickly see, oh, this guy's in my state. This shop's down the street from me. Let me give them a call. I pass by there all the time, and I didn't realize that they were there. You think about how many times you pass by something and don't notice it. So it's just a way for us to contribute back to the community, and hopefully it helps the print community in general, continue to grow, and connects a lot of the retail businesses with them. And we're really hoping that it helps stimulate the economy as a long-term effect.
Yeah, I have to give Mimaki kudos for this initiative. It's fantastic that it's helping to make that connection between customers and these print shops that otherwise may not have been found or even known about by their local customers. So it's great that you guys are doing that. And I want to thank you again, Michael, for taking the time this afternoon to speak with Sign Builder Illustrated about Mimaki's efforts to kind of combat COVID-19 and keep the print industry going during this trying time.
Yeah, thanks to everything that y'all are doing as well for providing awareness on applications, asking questions like these. It's really important for us. We communicate quite a bit as it is already, and we do a lot of things on social media and a lot of things on the web. But right now, the information flow is one of the most important things that we have. So thank you for all of your efforts in providing us these platforms to provide our perspective on things.
Of course, we're all in this together, I think, is kind of the running theme. So.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, Michael.
Okay, thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Shop Talk podcast. For more interviews with shops and manufacturers currently affected by COVID-19, be sure to check out our other episodes located under the Industry Resources tab on signshop.com. Thanks so much.